everyone. Hi. Hi everyone. This is an introduction of Edgar Allan Poe. Okay. Today I want to introduce a writer, American writer, Poe. Edgar Allan Poe. Can you see this picture? He is really a famous American writer. I guess many of you have heard about his name. Uh, he he was born in uh, Boston, Massachusetts in 1809, and his family is like from acting background. His father was David, and mom was Elizabeth. Actually, Edgar's mom was quite active actress from Britain. So she used to play in Britain, and one day her company decided to like go tour in America. So Poe's mom also followed to America. So she started acting, and when Elizabeth was acting, she met her husband David from the same company, same acting company. So when they were still young, Poe's mom was like 18-year-old, and they get married. So they started new family. So Poe is a second son. Okay, Poe is a second son of his family, and when Poe was only like 2 years old, his father abandoned his entire family. It seems that Poe's mom acted better, so she became more work and she became more famous. And Poe's father became quite jealous, and because of jealousy, Poe's father, left his family, abandoning Poe. So Poe and his elder brother, was only taken care of by his mother, and he had a little sister. And unfortunately, when Poe was only like 3 years old, his mom also passed away. So the Poe, as a boy, only 3 years old, he like cried. According to this documentary that I watched, Poe just cried like 24 hours after his mom just passed away. He was so like really sad, and as a baby, 3 year old, and he doesn't know much, and he must have really shocked, and he was really sad. So he cried so hard, and like Paul's mother had a really good um, friend. His name was Francis. So Francis and John, they were the couple from Scotland, and they were quite rich and quite abundant family. So Francis was in good relationship with Paul's mother, and Francis really thought that Paul became really poor. Paul became poor. So Francis like persuaded her husband to like take care of Edgar. So Edgar was brought to this foster family. He never was officially adopted to this John and Francis couple, but they really took good care of Edgar. And Francis and John, they had a tobacco merchant, and they wanted to expand their business, so they decided to go back to Britain. So Poe had to follow along to John and Francis and go back to Britain, London. So Poe went to school in America, and also Poe went to school in Britain. So he had a chance to travel around Scotland and England, and also studied. Like he went to school. in Britain. And so many of Poe's work like describe this town in England with like a lot of forest and huge Elizabethan house and like the really serious impact of church in the town. So his other work and his many literary pieces of writing depicts and describes many like sceneries from this British town, and he quite uses a lot of imagery from this English countries and English town. And he the Poe's father like go back and forth from Britain and America, you know. So he goes to this. His father went to like America again for the business, and he Poe's father had a difficulty with. I mean, the John, the adopted father, had a difficulty with his business, so he had to sell some properties, and uh, he was really suffering. But John had an uncle, and that uncle one day like died, and that uncle seems to be a really rich person. So John's uncle give all the money and asset to John. So Paul was quite lucky in that sense because John and Francis they didn't have to work anymore because of those money that inherited heritage from uncle. So the John and Francis sent Paul to University of Virginia. And this University of Virginia, it seems that the really rich kids go to this University of Virginia. So these other students, they since they all came from the quite powerful and rich family, they expected Poe to hang out with them, and they expected like Poe to like spend a lot of money together with them because for these other students, they also like spend a lot of money, and they didn't know that Poe is not really a real son from John. They had no idea, so they considered Poe was a really a son of John, so they expect Poe like spend and like lead this luxurious life, and John only give Poe a limited amount of pocket money. So Poe like made a lot of debt. He spent money hanging out with his friend and drink a lot, buying a lot, like, and he had a lot of debt. And John refused. He refused to pay back Poe's debt for university. So Poe like eventually got kicked out of the university for not paying the intuition for university. And instead, like he started this habit of drinking of alcohol. And after he kicked out of the university, Poe decided to join the army, join the academy. And while Paul was serving the academy, he didn't really drink any alcohol during his like uh, serving of the military, and also like um, so. But after like 7 years in military, he decided to quit. He decided to like pursue some other career, and he wanted to become a writer. So no, he came back his house. He came back home, but Paul's stepmother, Frances became ill, and actually the relationship between Paul and John was not really good. So they have a argumentation, and they like had really different opinion about everything. So Paul was away from his home for a long time, and Francis really wanted to like see the Paul for the last time. Hi, Kate. How are you? Hi. How are you? So I was talking about American writer Poe's life, and he had quite a really tragic life, and he was really famous. He is a famous writer, but his family background is not really that great. So Poe's mother, Frances, became ill, and she wanted to see Poe for the last time, and John refused. So, oh, okay, Kate, are you really already school? Kate, are you already back at school? So when the Francis is the mom of a Paul, and wow, you are very fast, Kate. Are you in your dormitory then? Are you in your dorm room? Or roommate? Who is your roommate, Kate? Who is your roommate? Oh, okay, good, good secret, good secret. Hey, do you know who this person is, Kate? Do you recognize this picture? Who is this person? Hey, Siri.
I'm listening.
Edgar Allan Poe.
Sorry, I can't create contacts for you.
Oh, hey, Siri.
Go ahead.
Edgar Allan Poe. Oh, okay.
Edgar Allan Poe is an American writer, poet, editor, and literary critic. Poe is best known for his poetry and short stories, particularly his tales of mystery and the macabre. Do you want me to keep reading?
Yes, please.
He is widely regarded as a central figure of Romanticism in the United States and of American literature as a whole, and he was one of the country's earliest practitioners of the short story.
Okay, thank you, Siri. Okay, you ever heard about the Poe before? So when his stepmother Frances, when she like almost died and she wanted to see Poe for the last time, but Poe's stepfather John disagreed. He denied because John and Poe was not in a good relationship. So no, Frances said that for the last time that if I die, back in this old days, there was no like fast communication. So she was worried that Paul might arrive late. So Francis told his John that if I die before Paul arrive at home, please don't bury me until like Paul sees me that I am really resting in peace. And eventually Francis dies, but John just about a couple of hours later, just did this funeral, and John buried Francis under the ground. So when like Paul eventually arrived his home, it was already over. Everything is already over, and like Poe didn't know that the Francis was sick because it seems that John intentionally delayed sending this letter to Poe. So Poe didn't know that Francis was dying, and he arrived late, and he didn't have a chance to see her stepmom dying. So it was really for Poe, it was like second terrible experience of losing his loved one. He lost his real mother. He was only 3 years old, and he only remember like crying hard and like he don't really you know remember anything about her first mom, and he only knows that she died so early. And this Frances, she really cared about the Poe, and Poe also liked Frances so much. So Poe like spent almost all his child years and his adolescence and his like early 20s with Francis, and now Francis died, and he didn't get to say proper bye to her stepfather. So it was Paul's second experience of losing his loved one. So Paul was really like again felt deeply about what the death is, and he felt this sensation of lost again. So maybe that those experience that contributed Poe of writing so much about this dark theme, and he turned into like really uh, talk about his writing about like mainly about death. But Poe was really he seems that he had really talent about writing. So like Poe is almost the first American writer who only like did his writing to make a living. He could make not the rich life, but he at least he could make his living by only writing, not doing anything else. So as a professional writer, he was really like uh, loved by many audiences, many readers. And so, like, he served the army 7 years, and he came back. And after the army, he like really wanted to uh, write. So, and after the Francis died, John also dies a couple of years later. And when John died, he didn't leave any asset. He didn't leave any heritage to Poe, even though John had more than enough money, more than enough heritage to give Poe. John didn't give anything, not at all. So poor because they had really bad relationship, and I guess John had something really. John held like grudge against Poe, so John didn't give anything to Paul. And ironically, after John passed away, Paul ended up living with John's sister. So I mean, Paul's aunt. So he lived in aunt's house, and after he keeps on writing, and he ended up um, marrying the aunt's daughter. So and when he was marrying the aunt's daughter, she was only a child, so the marriage was not in public. He didn't tell anyone about his marriage, and his entire family kept it secret because she was too young. And a couple of years later, Poe married this woman, so publicly. So at that time, um, she was only like 14 years old, and Poe was 27, so the gap was like huge, almost like 13 years old. But it seems that Poe and his wife, they really loved each other, even though Poe's wife was really young, and they loved each other. And only like 6 years after they married, they have a quite a happy marriage life. But Poe's wife contracted tuberculosis, so she suffered, and Poe had to take care of his wife, and Poe again became really disappointed and frustrated watching his young wife suffering and lying and sick in bed. So Poe's wife is so weak, and the disease tuberculosis was so serious that she all like had to spend so much time in bed, and Poe had to take care of her, and like she suffered almost like 5 years of tuberculosis, and Poe watched his wife like dying so gradually, and he felt he was in pain watching his loved wife like going away so slowly. So Paul lost so many people, so many loved ones, and he had to suffer big time. So those bad experiences, those difficult experiences, I guess, made Poe like think about a lot about death and wrote about this topic. And Poe like seemed to really dependent on alcohol, and he also dependent on like working. He after he lost his wife, Poe really even worked hard and wrote a lot of writing, a lot of novels and poems, and he more and more like become dependent on on alcohol, not only the alcohol but also this opioid. He became addicted to opioid, so he ended up like walking around wandering in this neighborhood in town, and he doesn't remember what he did last night and becomes so drunk and like so addicted to opioid, and so he had really difficult time. And I guess many of his difficult experiences reflected in his own work. So and no, but he oh, Kate. Okay, thank you, Kate. Kate, are you watching this on your smartphone or are you watching this in your notebook computer? Kate, are you watching this in your notebook computer or in a phone? Hey, Kate, what do you think? What do you think of Edgar Allan Poe? Oh, you're watching with smartphone? Okay, good, good. Kate, what do you think? What do you think of Poe? Was my explanation okay? Was my explanation okay about the Poe? So Poe, like, he's known as a romanticist. When he was writing, this romanticism was quite in fashion, quite in trend. Oh, it's okay. It's okay. I know it's boring. I know this topic is quite boring. No, the but this story about Poe is might be boring, but Poe's actual writing is quite interesting. He wrote like more than 200 poems, and he wrote many famous novels. And he's like almost a founder of detective story. He like many like writers like imitated his many writers get the idea of Poe's writing about detective writing, detective stories. So tell me, Kate, what did you do during like weekend? Kate, what did you do yesterday and today? Did you do anything interesting, Kate? And so Edgar Allan Poe, he eventually like became, I guess, drug addict or alcohol addict, maybe. So like he ended up one day, he ended up outside, walking in his town early in the morning, and some passenger, some stranger, found him, Poe, in the street, I guess, and Poe was suffering, and this person like called upon the hospital. Oh, studying and watching YouTube. Okay. So which subject did you study, Kate? Which subject did you study? So oh, math and English. Wow. Good job. So like, and you watching YouTube. Okay. Hmm. Yeah, I guess it seems that I I also watch YouTube, a lot of YouTube nowadays. So when you study, Kate, do you study on your own or you go to Hagwon Academy? And Poe wrote a lot of poems and writing. And one of my favorite is called Raven by Poe. This is really an interesting poem, The Raven. Can you see this, Raven? Even though it's a poem, oh, okay. You usually study on your own. Yes, no, good, good job. Yeah, I believe like anyone, like you have to do your own study, right? Studying is something that you do on your own. Yeah, this is a really long poem, like really. three pages long. One, two, and three pages long. But this is really interesting poem, and it almost feels like a novel, feels like a story, not a poem. But it's quite good one. Oh, by the way, hey, what time do you usually come to school? What time do you usually come to school, by the Kate? So, I guess this raven, it, I guess it talks not about his wife, but I guess there is something in this story about Poe and his wife. Yes, time. What time do you usually come to school on Sunday? Oh, mm, okay, I see. Did you have breakfast? I mean, dinner? Did you have dinner then? Oh, fried chicken. Kentucky. Wow, fried chicken. Good. Like, do you mean KFC? Kentucky Fried Chicken? Did you have KFC? Kentucky Fried Chicken? Oh, 교촌. I love 교촌 chicken too. I love 교촌 too. Did you have like honey combo? honey combo? Honey combo is quite good, but I think original. 교촌 original is best. So this Raven is almost like a autobiographic poem. It seems that the oh oh you really had a honeycomb today. So this Raven describes his life, his Poe's actual life as a writer. Oh, soy sauce. Mm. Do you know like maratang? Do you know maratang chicken? I think they have something like maratang chicken in BHC. That was quite good. Hey Kate, how many roommates do you have? Just one? Normally you have like three of you are sharing, right? So today was chicken day. Everyone had chicken except me. Yes, so this Raven is a really autobiographic story, writing about his life and as a writer, and he seems to he miss his wife so much. So here in this the Raven, there is a character named Lunoir, and this Lunoir seems to be the really the wife of Poe. Oh, okay, good, good. Okay, Kate. I think I finished explaining about Poe. I'll let you go. Thanks for coming. Nice talking to you, Kate. I will see you at school, okay? Thank you. I love you. I love you too. Bye. Bye bye. Thanks, Kate.